All right, so just a summary of this processes and procedures. We got some definitions there on processes, procedures, standards. It's useful to you to think about those definitions, and you actually have an exercise to do today regarding that, and also differences between frameworks and standards, that type of thing. It's useful for you to know that because to keep things in perspective with what you're doing, you should know about standards like ISO 20000, and you should know about frameworks like ITIL and MOF, etc. And total quality management, all of these things, you should have an idea of where they are and how they fit in the service management. Um, so I just kind of find that. So I'm going to mute you guys. If you want to say something, just unmute yourself. What I might do is I take a quick look at who's here. No, there's a lot. 21 students. Problem is now I can't see my snip. Ah, man, I'd have to. Come on. Let me just. Well, let's just continue on. I'll get the class roll at the end. All right. So if I pause now, it's just going to mess me up. So these ideas of processes and procedures. Process is going to have inputs and outputs. Okay. Procedures is going to have step by step. Process is going to be what you're going to do, and procedures is going to be step by step. How did you do it? How? Right? So you have to do a little activity that's in the Dropbox. What it is you make a flow chart. This is familiar. You did it before a little while ago, and you should your activity should be let's make a flow chart of my start of the day routine. That's fine. Most of us have a start of the day routine. If you're really sort of how you say high functioning organized person, maybe you have a very careful and detailed start of the day routine. So whatever that is, make myself a cup of coffee, turn on the news, write down a list of all the stuff I'm going to do, read my emails, whatever. If you have a plan on how you start your day, that's actually a really good management sort of technique, self-management technique. Maybe you have that, make it into a flow chart. Remembering that, and as I said, I'm skipping over these things kind of fast, but processes have inputs and outputs. Your inputs and outputs are going to be represented in your flow chart. And by the way, I'm not going to give you a lesson on flow charts here. You can Google that if you can't remember how to do it, but you should remember. You've probably done it a few times by now. But inputs and outputs are going to be your arrows in and out. Processes are going to be rectangular. Decisions are going to be diamond base, and anything oval or round is going to be a terminator. So that could be the starter end of a page, or it could just be the starter end of the process. All right, business process management. Keyword, key phrase, continuous improvement. Should sound familiar. Continuous improvement is, there's a Japanese word for it. When you take something that's a phrase like continuous improvement, it has a couple words in it, and you make it shorter, that means those people have thought about that. It's something they've done for a long time. Japanese call it Kaizen. Kaizen is a continuous improvement. It's also found in ideas and frameworks like total quality management. What you can see here, business process improvement is focusing on getting the best sort of competitive advantage for your company or your organization. The idea being that organizations are in competition. Even if you're in a government organization, there is some sort of competitive thing there because money and time are always scarce resources. And so there's always an emphasis on doing things better, getting more bang for your buck. Business process improvement is about that. How do we do things quicker, faster, better, etc.? How do we, even if we want to spend the same amount of money, have the same number of people, but to get a better result? And that would be the ideal, right? And so have a look at that. So I mentioned that processes have inputs and outputs. Processes are about what we want to do, and procedures are about how we're going to do it. Processes should be defined as it says there. We need to write down, record, or put into a diagram what our processes are. And that's what we mean by documenting them. And we have some kind of measurement of how those processes are performed. How are we going, students? Any sort of feedback on that? It's all working out all right for you this lesson, I hope. Not going too fast, not going too slow. How are we doing, students? It's okay, I hope. Don't see anything in the chat, mind you. You you can still see this, right? There's no chat coming up. So I get about 22 students here. That's good. That's good. Okay. So here's some examples of quality management. Quality, we got a definition for quality. You should make a note of that. Something that meets the needs of the customer or to the customer specification. That's going to be quality. Here's some examples of quality that you may have come across. ISO being a standard, total quality management, and Six Sigma being frameworks in which we try to improve our quality. Yeah, and I did mention those in the other recording that I've made. Yeah, okay, so notice the difference between here. I'm just going to summarize it because, as I said, it's in the other video. But frameworks, the emphasis is on optional, guidance, support, no controls. Standards, it is mandatory, must happen, minimum sets, etc. The reason being is because standards offer accreditation, certification. You get a piece of paper or whatever that says that you have met the standards. With frameworks, they're really just all optional things that you may or may not do. So our service desk processes, incident management, problem management, change management, and service asset configuration management are all described fully in the ITIL documents. And so these are ITIL being a framework, that's optional. And so, but if you decide to take ITIL framework to heart, then you'll almost certainly do incident management, in which case you will do something like what we did in our exercise last weekend, which was to do the OTRS, which is an incident management system. Problem management sort of is very much related to that, as is change management and configuration management. And you will have in this course this semester a kind of a project and assignments which are based on all of these things. So you're going to have to sort of get to grips with configuration management, change management, problem management, because you'll have to sort of present those in a project document and to prove your learning in this course. Incident management, you know about. But as it says here, the main thing that we want to do in incident management, because an incident is an interruption in a service. So incident management is to stop the interruption. Now, there may be something underlying that incident that causes it. Did I just go? Yeah, that causes it to happen, which is the problem, right? So the problem is underlying the incident. In which case we have to analyze and find that problem and then solve it. But the incident itself is about incident management is about getting things back to where we were. And so that is relayed in this. And please look at the other video on that because I went through these very carefully. But what you'll see is each one of these has an output, which is the input to the next process. So these are processes or parts of processes in the incident management. Incidents are detected. Again, it's in the other video. I encourage you to go and look at that. But people will come to the service desk with a incident report. My computer's not working. Or it could have something which is picked up automatically by some monitoring software on your network. Then you have to prioritize them. We say classified, where we could prioritize them, which is how big a problem is this? Well, how big it is the impact and the urgency together make the priority. Impact is how big is the problem. The urgency is when does it have to be fixed? And so urgency is time-based. Impact is sort of volume, how big it is. Restoring is coming back to that. What we want to do with our incident is we want to get back to where we were before the incident, which is our system working. So restoring is a lower level threshold of repair. Once we have restored our service, and then we start looking at the underlying, why is this happening? What can we do to make it not happen anymore? And so that's kind of like a problem management sort of thing. But the start of that is still an incident management. And so we resolve that it's fixed, and finally we close our incidents. This is all done by the service desk people who own the incident. So we talk about owners of the incident. The owner is the person who keeps track of the incident. What do we use to keep track of the incident? We use our incident management software to keep track of the incident. And how do we keep track of it? By a unique identifier, which is the ticket number. So that incidents management has the tickets, tickets have ticket numbers. The owner is the will be assigned on the ticket, because so the ticket will refer to who who this is going to help, our customer, I guess you could say, and will also indicate who's the owner. And the owner has to follow that ticket until either it's closed or it is changed ownership to somebody else. And so the owner has to keep track of it, has to keep notifying the person who's involved with the ticket of what is the status of the ticket, and has to keep all the documentation until the ticket is closed. And the owner of the ticket can be contacted by the customer until that ticket is closed. Okay, and so you cannot close the ticket properly until you have contacted the customer and asked them, is this to your satisfaction? If it's not, then the ticket's not closed, right? Is this to your satisfaction? When you get it's to their satisfaction, then you go ahead and close the ticket. Okay, so you may have guessed from what we've been talking about here that sometimes um, issues are not we can't really solve the incident properly without finding the underlying cause. That's what we call the problem. And so we need to do some kind of analysis of that. We call that trying to find the root cause. When we find the root cause, then we can solve a problem. Root causes are associated with problems. So incident is the loss of the service. The problem is the underlying cause, the root cause, as we call it, that caused that incident to occur. Again, I do refer you to the previous video, which is in your on your page. So ITIL, we've talked about ITIL a bit. ITIL being a framework, it has lots of suggestions how to do things. So problem management is taken up in ITIL, as is incident management. So we do incident management. Incident management is about finding that, it's not hard to find the incident. That'll be brought to your attention. But it's about getting back to a status of the system working. And then after that, we look at the underlying cause, which is our problem. So detecting the problem, etc., until that problem is solved. Change management. Change management can come from problem management. That is, we see a problem and therefore we see a need to make a change to the system. So that can be an input to our change management. Change management can also be just upgrading the system. So we see that our system is at this level. The technology, the understanding that's in the world around us is raised to a higher level, and therefore we understand, or we see an opportunity. And this is like our business improvement. We see an opportunity to raise the level of our system, and so we go ahead and do that by planning a change to the system. No problem. So that's our change management process. And as you see, it's a circular thing, kind of like the problem management. That was circular, and so is our incident management. And that's because the reason why it's circular is it seems like there's always going to be new changes that need to be made. Once we've taken our change, we've made the things that we made the changes that we need. We've reviewed on it and closed a particular change. We'll find that there's always another change that needs to be made, and so it's circular. Okay, so with change management, because it's affecting the underlying systems, it needs some kind of authorization for it to go ahead. All right, and so that's why that's referred to there. And so there's going to be some processes in your change management system which involve some authorization from the person, from a person or teams that oversee a particular system. Now, in order for that authorization to be real, they have to be aware of all the issues and particularly the risks. So there, with every time you're going to make a change to a system, there will be some potential risk. Making a change to a system could cause something good to happen. Yes, every time there's a change, we hope that there's something good, but it could also have some possible, and perhaps not necessarily is going to happen, but there's some possible downside to it. And those things have to be analyzed, and those things have to be brought to the attention of the people who are authorized to make to sign off on the changes. And so when that's done, we can prioritize that risk, and the high risk change will have to go up to a higher level reporting in the organization. And when the approval comes, then we can go ahead and sort of make our changes. Here's an example of sort of change requests process happening here. Right now, we see two different types of entity here. We have the business and the information technology service provider, and that could be you in an IT function in an organization. And so once a change is requested, we have to analyze that change and classify it. Then we have to get some approval. Once the change is tested and implemented, then we go ahead and do it. All right. So we talked about incident management. We talked about problem management. We talked about change management. This one here is related again, configuration management. I want you to think about configuration management as having some kind of record of snapshot of what is the state of the business at any time and keeping that up to date all the time. And so you're going to have all kinds of diagrams, all kinds of um, documents that feature everything that's happening in a particular system. So as it says here, the money, the people, the processes, the technology, everything that impacts upon that particular system, there will be a record of it. So you're going to have diagrams with IP addresses and cabling and hardware in a system. That will be part of your configuration management documents. And you're going to have passwords and software and licenses and people and organizational charts. All of those things will be part of your configuration management process, keeping a record of them, updating them, when to update them, how to update them. Can you see that change management would impact upon configuration management? Once a change has been approved and performed, then you would have to update the configuration management system. And so, yes, configuration identification. What is it that we want to record in all of those records about what our systems are? How do we update the system? How do we pay for the system? How do we control it? All of those things are going to be in our configuration management. Um, Hopefully you see some things here to do with authorization in our configuration. All right, so who has access to our systems? Access control, that's built into some operating systems like Microsoft Server. Version control for our software and also for our hardware network design. You know, we may change versions from time to time, but certainly for software, we're bringing in software all the time. I hope you can see how change management is going to plug straight into configuration management. If configuration management is a record and a snapshot of the system as it is today, then then anytime we make a change to that, we have to go through the change management process, and then we have to update our configuration management. Audit is just checking on where is a snapshot. Really, it's what is happening right now, and that could be physical or process. Yeah, content management, backup recovery, etc. Why is it important? Well, when we have an incident occur, it would be good to know it's kind of like maps of our system. Think of it as lots of different overlaying maps of our system, maps of our people, maps of the software, maps of the hardware, maps of the virtual, to do with passwords, names, that kind of thing. So we have all of these maps. So when an incident occurs, we know where to focus in coming up with a analysis and a solution for that incident. And so we're going to have some system for that. So you can think of it, this configuration management system. It's going to have a database associated with it. It's going to have processes that deal with the change management, with the problem management, and even with the incident management, are all going to impact upon the configuration management system. And here's some examples of groups and how they are going to be impacted by the configuration management system, where we're going to keep the information about them. Okay, so for example, with the purchasing, we're going to record all their contracts and things like that. Computer operations, we're going to have maps of their data center and hardware. Network management, we're going to have some network diagrams of these things and everything recorded. Desktop, we're going to have records of all the data, all the computers and tablets and smartphones. We're going to keep all of these. All of these things will be in our configuration management system. Now, we're not talking about a book necessarily. We're talking about databases, okay, with that can we can extract data from. So this diagram here, oh, I've got a student here, and I'm sorry I didn't turn on the screen. No, you're very welcome. But what I should have done is I should have turned on the screen for you. So my apologies. Because I'm just in such a hurry here. Don't know what's wrong with me. Anyways, you should see that in a second. This is a very nice diagram. And again, this will show up in the video. Is this recording? Yes, it is. So we see in the center, so this is taking it from the point of view of the configuration management system. Can you see how these other sort of systems sort of link into it? Incident management we talked about. So our software that we're using, like our OTRS, that is giving information about errors. All right, that's going to be fed in, and it's going to be stored in this thing called a knowledge base. And the knowledge base is going to record not just the incidents, but also the solutions to those incidents. So when an incident occurs and the solution is brought, then that will be recorded and kept in a knowledge base. And so that is going to be managed by our configuration management system. Every time we make some changes to our systems, those changes will have to be updated in our configuration management system. And so information there about our assets, our systems, our maps of them, all recorded in our configuration management system. Every time we want to have a standard request, so that could be like adding new employees to the organization, adding new equipment, adding new departments, whatever. Those kind of requests are going to require an update of the configuration management system. And so that's diagram is to show you the centrality or the centralness of the configuration management system and how these other systems work in with it. So we've got a central place where we're recording everything about our system. That's the configuration management system. Incident management system, which we're focusing on in the first part of this course, that was our OTRS, that is feeding in directly into this configuration management system. You haven't seen that yet, but yeah, it is built into it. And wow, that's basically a very fast run through of that particular lesson idea. So hopefully, and as I said, please look, because I spent a little bit more time in the other class. This time I just wanted to sort of go over it quickly because you do have access to that other slides. But know the difference between processes and procedures and see how they are working in a service desk. All right, with processes, the idea being what is it that we want to do, and procedures very step by step. So we've talked about that. Frameworks and standards. The main takeaway that you should have from that is that frameworks are optional. They're very nice ideas, but they're optional, whereas standards, they offer certification, and standards, many parts of them are not optional at all. And as it says there, frameworks are for best practices, but standards are very formal and detailed specifics of what you have to do, and they give you a certificate. Okay, the tightly integrated processes that it's talking about here are your incident management, your problem management, your change management, your configuration management. Those are tightly integrated processes. They're tightly integrated through databases. All right, so databases are recording everything that you're doing in those processes, and that's all managed by our configuration management system. Right, I went through that quickly. I hope that wasn't too fast for folks. I don't see anything in the chat. I'm going to stop the, let's see what participants I've got. I'm going to take some, well, maybe not. Maybe if I stop the share. All right, so let's see. Going to take some snips of who's here. So some of the this might be a repeat on it. Let's just go right to the top first. So yeah, Ahmed Bakr. Snip, where'd you go, Snip? Don't tell me I closed the snip. Yeah, it looks like it. So any questions? Because I'm just going to take, otherwise I'm just going to take the roll. We'll see who's here, and then we'll let you go. Don't leave until I finish taking the roll, eh? Yeah, this is M. So some of you, your names will appear twice on this. That's okay. I know. I can see when a name is twice. This take me a second. Bear with me. Not that. Oh, where'd you go? Zoom. Yeah, here we go. So down to Isa. Isa. Oh, there we go. We got 10 minutes left. Fatan, I'm just going to take that snip. I think I got Isa in the last one. Oh, shut up. Thing. No, that's a different class. Is it? Is this you guys? That's a different class. Yeah, God. So let's close that. That was CR1041. Let's see. So my apologies with this. It takes a while. Yeah, it's this one. Yes, I did get down to Isa Maher. Let's see. Zoom. Nasser's there. So nah, because we got so many in this class. We got two Mahers. Maher, you signed in twice. Goodness gracious.
No, I did not.
Oh, so have I got two
Maybe it's
Mahers?
Mahid.
Mahid. Okay. All right. Let me look back on that. So Mahid. All right. And so what do we got? We're down to Raneem. And that's the end of the list. Hooray. So I got him. All right. So I think I got everybody that's here. Any questions? And now I will give you, so you've got a little bit of work to do. I don't know if I stopped the recording yet. Should be dumb if I didn't. Stop.